There are secrets out there, guys, performance marketing secrets, and knowing just one or two of them can absolutely light up your funnels. Let's go. This is the Revenue Driven CMO. I'm your host, Chris Mechanic. Join me as I uncover the secrets of the world's most elite CMOs and marketing leaders. The Revenue Driven CMO is sponsored by Web Mechanics, the AI-driven performance agency that makes you smarter. Welcome to another exciting episode of Revenue Driven CMO. I'm your main man, Chris Mechanic. We've got an awesome guest here for you today. Our guest today is a change agent. He drives change again and again in all the different positions that he's been in for over 20 years, both from a strategic and a tactical level. He spent time at Staples, ConstantContact. He was a marketing leader at Localytics, spent a long time at Mindbody, and was named recently a top 20 CMO by VentureBeat. Currently, he is CMO at SevenRooms.com, which is an experience management platform for hospitality. And he is Josh Todd, aka JT. Welcome to the show, JT.
Awesome. Psyched to be here. Thanks so much for having me. Looking forward to conversation today.
I'm psyched to have you because you're the type of marketer, like you're high level, like you're an executive, but you can get into the weeds and into the channel specifics and into the, the tactical stuff, which is where I live a lot of the time. So I'm stoked to have it. And you know how we roll. We like to lead with value. So I'll ask you right off the bat, like, what is one of your best kept secrets to all the success you've had?
Yeah, if we try to boil that down to something that's really top of mind for me right now, is this idea that thing that you think you need to do, you might not have to do it. You might be able to pull back from that thing that you think is so critical. And I hear this from, various teams I've been on, like maybe it's a particular event, like this is the industry event. We must go and invest in this.
Yeah.
But when you dig in, the reality is you might not have to be there and those dollars may be better spent somewhere else.
I love that. And I can think of a bunch of examples of that, but sometimes you see brands that are posting, a lot of content, say on organic social. And like if you're a B2B and you're spending a lot of money posting on, or a lot of time and money, say on like Facebook organic, and you're just getting no engagement,
Right.
like it would be better to double down into LinkedIn probably,
For sure.
But let's talk about that. So what are some examples that you've seen in your career?
Yeah. So if I look at kind of a trend line over over my career and at these different places, there's some things that keep recurring that are common. And right now, the rage is all around this idea of the pendulum swinging back and forth between profitability and growth. And money's more expensive right now, so profitability. They're obviously both always are in play. Rule of 40, however you want to get there. But there's definitely an emphasis on profitability right now.
Totally.
And what we see is businesses and marketing leaders having to make really hard decisions about where to invest their dollars. And we don't always have all of the information that we wish we had to know exactly what is contributing where. And things that are less direct, you can just do branded search, right? If you want to get down to your most efficient. But if you really want to continue to grow a business, you have to find that right balance. And so I look back earlier in my career, I learned a lot of lessons at when we were at ConstantContact, email marketing for small businesses. And this was really kind of, introducing a new category to a new audience. And so we had to find ways to continue to grow and reach that audience. And we stepped outside of kind of what was at the time the traditional playbook. And we looked at, what if we could figure out how to use mass media? What if we could make radio advertising a repeatable, predictable driver of growth that could lead to profitability?
Yeah.
And so we went into the lab on this, and our formula there was to, we created sister cities, and some of the stuff isn't revolutionary, but it leads up to kind of where we are today and how we can think about a framework to make decisions. And we created sister cities, several different cities, so that we could, kind of get the anomalies out of the way. We tested the different media mixes, but the key was really looking at many different ways of measuring what the impact was. So full funnel, of course. So you're looking at, what's happening in search, what's happening at each conversion point within the funnel. Where is it growing? Where is it slowing down? How does it compare? We also were doing attitudinal studies out in the market. How do we understand awareness, where that is moving? What are going to be the longer indicators of success that might be not paying off today? And then finally, what's the revenue in market? So, fast forward now to where we are today. Folks listening in might be thinking about, do I need to do that big industry event, or should I look at this a different way? It's a big chunk of my budget. I'm getting, pressured to really, really focus in on ROI. And I think you can sweep away things that are valuable, or go the other way and double down on doing something that isn't actually driving business. And for me, it's finding those ways to get really, really granular in your funnel and understanding what is making the difference. And that has just served me at every point along the way. As from where we were at Mindbody, we were trying to understand, how do we move. This one will be interesting. Curious on your take here. So we wanted to drive. Mindbody is a marketplace for to connect wellness seekers with wellness providers. So your yoga studios, fitness, and we provided all the software for them to run their business. So we started running these campaigns to drive the B2B side of our business. Right. So we're running some mass media, a lot of connected digital at the time, and and we're looking for the results in the B2B business, and they weren't they weren't really coming out the way we wanted. So we shifted to focus our message on pushing consumers in.
Yeah.
And what we found was that was the thing that drove more B2B business, not the B2B advertising. And it was
interesting.
The key for us was that we weren't just myopically looking at one part of the funnel and saying success looks like this. We were saying, where could success show up? Let's really understand what's happening.
Well, what's interesting to me is the dichotomy, right? Because on the one hand, you're saying, hey, some of the things that you're doing might not actually be necessary. Like, you could just cut these things and not be harmed. But then on the other hand, you're saying, hey, like, let's do things that are a bit different and take some swings. And I think the one activity where you're saying, hey, let's potentially cut these useless things, frees up the budget
exactly
to take some of those bigger swings. And just for context, for people that might be listening to this in a month or a year or 2 years, we're now in August 2023, and that pendulum has swung not gradually, it has swung dramatically from like growth at all costs to now like profit or die, basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you got to control your own destiny in the space. Money's expensive, and I think investors, leaders are looking for reasons to say no, not reasons to say yes. Let's do this thing. And so the tighter you are, the more you control your own destiny, the better position you're in today. And it's a really interesting space for marketers to be in. It kind of gets to the heart of what this show is all about, which is like, understand how you're driving your revenue. The better you understand that, and the better you understand where to test, the more opportunities you're going to have to take various swings.
Yeah. So I want to talk about swings in a second, but first I want your take on, like, just imagine your average B2B, or it could even be a B2C, it could be a marketplace, but like, let's zoom into B2B, or, B to small b for a little while. In general, like broad stroke speaking, what do you think are some of the things that many orgs are doing that are just like, they could cut them and not be harmed at all?
Like, there is no broad-based answer to that, and I
know
that I will make some enemies here in a couple spots. One thing, at SevenRooms, we're a global company, so we're serving a bunch of different markets. So something that we had to look really closely at was our PR agency support. Like, where and how much support are we going to have in these different regions? Because those costs start to escalate really quickly. So I think looking at what can you do in-house, what can you do, what do you need to outsource, and how do you be really strategic about that? And where we landed was, there are certain markets where we need that external help, and understanding how to specifically justify that, while others doing what is sometimes kind of counterproductive, is pulling off of some of the other agency relationships. The other big one is events, and events is just it's a fascinating space right now. And I think you got to be really clear on where you want to be and what you're trying to get out of events, because the space is just very different than it was. Even just the pandemic obviously had a huge impact on in-person events, and I think that the space there is still trying to figure itself out. And what you felt like you might have had to do, that you should really be taking a hard look at that.
Yeah, and events are extremely expensive. Like in
Right.
contrast to the example that I said about like organic social media that gets no engagement,
Right.
um, events are extremely expensive. And that brings up another concept is that there's things that a lot of orgs do that they don't necessarily see benefit from.
Mm.
So they could cut it completely, or they could add a little bit of extra investment to get more out of it. And what I'm thinking about now, and excuse me for being so micro here, but what I'm thinking about now is blogging.
Mm.
Like every organization is like, we have a blog, like it needs to be updated, like it needs to be up to date. But 9 times out of 10, when I'm looking in, GA4 or in the analytics, it's like the blog posts aren't really contributing all that much in the way of conversion. Um, and most companies that I meet even today are still doing what I call blind blogging, which is
Mm.
just like creating content, sort of not haphazardly necessarily, but not with an SEO's mindset. And I'm an SEO by
Mhm.
training. That's how I kind of got into this. So, like, I'll look at almost any blog and I'll be like, man, like this blog post could fly with just a little bit of keyword optimization and a couple of backlinks,
Mm.
So I mean, it's interesting. It's a great, topic for a pod, but it's so difficult in practice because it's like, what do you invest? Like, what do you double down in hopes of the return? And what do you just like completely cut? Do you have some sort of framework for deciding that?
Well, I think you got to first start with like, what does doubling down mean? So does that mean we need to, take a stronger SEO? Let's just use the blogs as the example. Let's take a stronger SEO approach and make sure we're doing that, and we want to double our output. Okay, or you could say, let's maybe optimize what we have. I think that would be like that's table stakes. But um, are we pushing these out enough, or are we just expecting them to do the work for us? So doubling down might be really making sure that your entire organization is leveraging these. Are your SDRs really leveraging these? Are your sales reps leveraging these?
Yeah.
How far can you take these? Are they feeding other content? Are you really doubling down? Might not be just more of something, but it might be using something more fully. And I think that is that's the place where we're at. That's how you drive to profitability. You make sure you're driving ROI is the thing that you choose to do it really well, and make sure you go all in on it.
Yeah. And so many orgs, ourselves included, sometimes fall victim to doing too much
Yeah.
or attempting to do too much with too few resources. Um, so if you're talking to an org that falls into that camp, it's like, they're doing all the things. They have probably some basic measurement platform, but it might not be like impression to revenue, straightforward tracking. Like it's difficult, even with the best tech stack, it's difficult to attribute. I mean, it's like the impossible equation, really.
Yeah.
But like when you're going into a new org, how do you figure all that out? Like, how do you decide where to add, where to cut?
Yeah. So, well, some of the first flags come with like what is, what's being reported, what's being measured. Is it activities or is it outcomes? Like that's the first step. And that's like the first thing that'll help you identify. If you're measuring like things we do versus things we get as an organization, that's where you got to start digging in and understanding what's going on. Now, and like you said, I mean, you're going to have your demand gen team versus maybe your market, and they're going to have different ways that they can get to that final mile. But if they don't understand, and not they, but if you don't as an organization understand how that piece of the business is contributing to the whole, and you're focused on what we're doing, that's a tell that you're not fully, you haven't fully matured in that part of your business, and that's
So
where
that's to say, basically, what gets measured gets managed, and the focus
That's
really
right.
should be more on the outcomes over the activities.
Yes, because everybody has so many activities that go into the outcome, and the more you can push and help get one kind of mindset around the team that we hold each other accountable to the outcomes. It makes for much cleaner conversations, and I think it's a healthier org over time. But that transition is difficult, especially as you come in as a new leader. You're trying to build trust and drive change, and you have to show results pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a tough
Yeah,
one.
absolutely. So I want to talk about 7 rooms. But first, I want you to tell us a little bit more about the story of radio at Constant Contact. and just big swings in general. So there's a lot of people listening right now who are doing all the normal stuff. Like they're going to events, they're blogging, social media, they're doing all the normal things. The idea of taking a risk, might be scary, but for some, it's probably pretty exciting. The concept of taking that risk and then potentially, changing the whole landscape and being an innovator in that regard. Uh, how did that idea come up at Constant Contact, and what advice would you give to the listeners in terms of, if they have a little bit of extra budget and want to take a swing, what
Yeah,
swing to take?
we had two great factors, at Constant Contact. One, we had, an amazing demand gen leader, a woman named Nancy Freitas, who, she really understood how demand gen works across the board, and she was leading the organization at the time. And we had a CEO who was bought into marketing, Gail Goodman, kind of, Queen of SaaS. It really understood and believed in marketing. So we had those components in place. The approach we took, which I think is applicable in many different ways, is to understand how to start small and extrapolate to big. So for us, we were doing radio, and this will apply in many different ways. Local radio is more expensive than national radio, but we started in a way that was responsible from an expense standpoint, where we're just in 2 cities. Prove this in 2 cities. Now, what I'll tell you is, if you looked at, does this pay off in this particular city? The answer is no. But what we did was we said, if you go national, if you expand what this is, then you're going to get economies of scale. Then this works. So let's not measure this on, is it performing today? But does it have the potential to scale based on the metrics that we see today? And do we believe it can hold up when you go national? So we did that.
And what were those leading metrics that you looked at, like cost per lead, sort of, or cost per visit?
You're going to look at it over a time horizon, right? So the first things we looked for was, okay, are we shaking anything up in the industry? And that's where you got to be really looking for signals to come from anywhere. So you're looking at, it was things like, it's on our press page, right? Like, are you starting to shake the market up? Then you start to get into all the search metrics. Are we improving conversion rates on the category terms because we have this surround sound support? Are we, in those first, the first quarter of doing this, are we stacking the pond with fish that we're going to be able to fish out with our direct response campaigns over time? So we saw early results through some of those higher funnel metrics, as well as just looking for any of the signals around it. And then we started to see the results as you headed in. So the other thing I would say, if you're taking these kind of big swings, is, and this is where the CEO buy-in comes from, this is not like, if you're going to look at it after the first month and make a call, then I'll tell you, most of these things aren't going to work. So you have to get some runway on this. If you're seeing nothing, if there's no signals coming back, and there's no ability to tweak or move, that's one thing. But for the most part, think about these things as like a longer term commitment to understand how it impacts the business, as opposed to something that's going to be, a really short term focus. So it was the combination of that's a great thing. Senior leadership buy-in, because it takes grit to continue to stay with things until you really understand if it works. And too often, you pull that cord too early, and you could have seen something great.
That's true. And that's a quotable moment right there. So shout out really quick to our producer, Yona, who's awesome. He watches every second of every episode. And if you want, JT, if there's some awesome moment that you want to have that snippet, just ask Yona. He'll hook you up. But yeah, I think that whole last couple minutes was quotable, I think. Cool. Well, one last question before we get into SevenRooms. So at Constant Contact, it sounds like you had a CEO who was a marketer at heart, understood it, was willing to put in the time and effort and money and think in a long-term basis. Many CMOs are not in such a fortunate scenario. They have CEOs or boards or, CFOs or others that don't understand marketing and have unrealistic expectations. How would you go about handling that?
You got to build the trust at each level. As coming into a new org, before you can start to get to, further up, the pyramid, you got to feed you got to feed your sales team, and you got to find a way to at least have that base level of Maslow's hierarchy. Like you got to that's food and water for the team. As you start to have proof points there, then you show the connection, and it's communicating that connection, I think, is the most important thing. And if you do it at small levels, then when you want to do big things, it can be much more understandable. And that's an opportunity to educate. Mostly if you can get your senior leadership and your CEO on board, then you can go to the board. I mean, I don't think of the board as really the one that you need to get on board. But if you have a passionate CEO who understands how it works, and you take them through the process of understanding the building blocks. Yeah, we all love direct response. To get more direct response, we need to do these things. Here's how they're connected. I'm going to show you in a small way. Now let's move to the next level. If you come in and you try to take the big swing right out of the gate, I would say no. I would say no to that, because you haven't shown that it's going to work here. The other big failure is, here's this thing that worked somewhere else and it's going to work here. I never believe in that. I never there's so many factors that make every situation different. You got to take core principles and then understand, what's this situation? What do I apply here? It's never the same thing.
Yeah. And a lot of times one of the biggest variables is the sales org as a marketer.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll give you an example. We had a financial services client. We were spending like a couple $100,000 a month for them on Facebook ads. And all of our metrics were just on fire. Like cost per lead looked good, lead quality looked good, transfer rates, like everything was looking good, but they were struggling with profitability. And we ended up kind of quasi getting fired, but we kind of fired them and they kind of fired us, sort of thing.
Right.
But we reached out to, the big competitor in that space, and we were like, hey, we figured out how to do this for this exact type of company. And we ended up getting that deal. And they have an amazing sales org. Like they're like next level in terms of, it was like sort of a Maserati compared to a Honda Civic kind of thing. And that is just, it's going amazingly well still to this day.
Yeah, I think that's within a space. So like there you can translate across. Most CMOs are usually shifting in some ways outside as they go to their next place. See what they are. Right?
Oh yeah, if you're going cross space, there's definitely
all SaaS is not the same. I hear some that you've heard some kind of PEs think like all kind of like this SaaS world is it tastes like chicken and it's going to be the same thing. And
right,
there's enough nuance in there that's a lot of that is true, but a lot of that is not true. And figuring out which one is important.
And that's a great seg to SevenRooms, right? Yeah. Because, our SaaS clients generally come in the form of enterprise. Like they're always whale hunting. They want to sell into large orgs. I don't know much about SevenRooms, but it seems like you could sell to large hospitality orgs or small ones. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but let's talk about SevenRooms. Like just give us sort of a product overview, sort of like who's your market.
Yeah, I won't make it a full on ad, but I'll give you a little bit because it sets context for kind of how I think and some of the challenges that we face. SevenRooms is a guest experience and retention platform. So we're really helping kind of restaurants and food and beverage within a lot of these hotels. So you think of how these restaurants and if you think about a restaurant, right, they their margins are tight. It's all about how do they map these magical experiences that they provide to something that's actually sustainable. They have to make money in order to continue to do this. And so we sit in the middle of that, from how they acquire new diners. That's everything from a reservation widget for how they can capture that information, to guest lists, to how we connect into POS and mobile ordering and all these other ways that guests are coming in at the front side. But then the cool part about SevenRooms is we also work with them on their on-premise optimization of their operations. So table turns, we have a ton of data that helps us help these restaurants understand how long is this party based on what they ordered going to stay at this table. How can you should you shorten your table turn so you can get another rotation in through the night? Those things add up to real money. So we have all this amazing data is coming in to SevenRooms, which is really, at its core and a CRM for restaurants.
And the mechanism, sorry to interrupt, but the
Yeah.
mechanism is through the POS system for the most part, that the
No,
data
no,
is.
through the reservation system is really where it starts. The POS system feeds us as well. They feed us
Oh, okay.
information about, kind of what people are purchasing and where they're at. So that's a component of it. But the core information that comes in on the user starts with really that reservation. What are they, how many people are they coming with? What do they put in? Where are they at? The POS feeds the CRM as well. But the really
Got
cool
it.
part about this, so you take all this information um, about a diner, right? And then we've added, marketing automation and email marketing on top of that CRM. So you come in, you love red wine, particularly cabs. So they know all this information. They know they have, 50, 100 diners that fit this same criteria of red wine lover. And then they can run events and drive emails specifically to you that's really tailored and personalized to get you to come back into the restaurant, to do a wine tasting event, to do these other things. So all those
Interesting.
things give them the edge so that they can do what they do best, which is provide the experience, but create additional ways to make that really easy for them to know exactly who the guest is, what they love, and how they can serve them better.
Well, that sounds amazing.
It's
I'm
it's really amazing company. I mean, coming from Mindbody, ConstantContact, all these different ways that are serving SaaS. And what's most amazing about SevenRooms is I hear a lot of people promise like, oh, we're in the business of making you like SevenRooms. We make these restaurants more money. Like, and that's a
Yeah.
worthy cause because they're trying to, you have an engagement event, or you're going to propose, or I have a daddy-daughter dinner. We help those restaurants make those experiences more special. And so I feel this deep connection to actually people's experiences in life. And it's a pretty cool place to work.
That's really cool. Where do you hang out in the market? Like, I'm on your website right now. Are you mostly selling to like chains and larger orgs, or mostly to like the smaller kind of, still analog kind of
Yeah,
restaurants?
so it's less the really small mom and pops. It's the Jose Andres of the world, Danny Meyer. These a little bit upscale restaurants. We really serve a broad spectrum of them, but it's not your fast casual chains. It's really people who are focused in on the experience, who
Got
want
it.
to make sure that that's their differentiator, that they know their customers and they're driving them to become regulars.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So hotels, membership
Hotels, they great.
clubs,
Hotels have so much
breweries,
information,
wineries.
right? Or they
Yeah.
have so much information. So anybody who you have this promise of big data, but what we can do is help make that actionable. So
Yeah.
hotels love us because they can take all this information they have in and provide amazing
I'm
experiences.
just thinking of all the AI plays. I bet you your product team is just going bananas with
Yeah.
AI right now.
100%, 100%. And I think I can't tease too much. We have a lot of exciting product announcements that'll be coming out this fall, all focused on leveraging the latest technology and helping restaurants make more money in a super competitive environment.
Nice. Cool. Well, I know you've only been there, it looks like less than a year.
Yeah.
But what are some things you've done so far? What are you proud of? Who on your team would you like to call out or give a little bit of love to?
Yeah, I mean, it's joining any company. I inherited a fantastic team at SevenRooms, and we had some exciting product releases that were coming out. Email marketing was new for us,
Oh,
and it really was this this powerful addition that could really show ROI. So
yeah.
it's cool because when I was at Constant Contact, and there's some folks that have gotten better at this, but it was difficult to get all the way to like, what did I really get out of this email? We can
Yeah.
show you exactly how much revenue is generated from sending out an email because of the way we're connected into all the data at the restaurant level. And so that has been a
Really?
hit. That's been a hit with our customers because they're
That's
like
huge.
the marketers who work at our customers organizations. They love it because they can go back to their boss and be like, look, we did this email. We made this much money. Like, awesome.
Yeah.
This is the way we need to continue to grow. And now we want to add these events. So that one was a huge win for SevenRooms and for restaurants on the platform. And we have thousands and thousands of restaurants around the globe on the platform, and they're continuously adopting and finding new ways to make money there. The,
That's super cool.
the other big thing is kind of where we're starting to invest in, and that's getting closer to the customer. We're going to do our first customer conference, coming up in London this fall. working on building out communities. I hear of, listen to a lot of your podcasts. That's definitely, kind of a central focus for a lot of businesses these days is how do you get really close to your customers. And hospitality, these are some really fun people. They're super busy and hard to get to, but putting on these events and building this community is a lot of fun. In addition to learning from them and making sure that we're constantly working to help them succeed.
That's awesome. London is an interesting choice. Are you guys EMEA based?
No, so we're US based, but the international markets we're absolutely killing it in the international markets, and this is different for me from my past experience. And our product fit with the competitive landscape and the way that the markets operate is a perfect fit. A strong fit in the US and everywhere else, but just like really strong product market fit in some of these international markets. And we've seen great growth there that we continue to invest in.
That's cool. So what are your big channels? How are you guys getting most of your business? I know there's probably a lot of word of mouth, a lot of like product driven stuff.
Yeah. Word of mouth is huge. And that's, again, why we want to connect these communities, or the hospitality industry talks, and they move around a lot, right? So you have people who are, working, at one restaurant, they end up working at another restaurant in different capacities throughout. So it's a very fluid space. And so that is a big driver. We've been finding our direct response channels, the classic kind of search channels to be very effective for us. And our content has improved, incredibly. We have hired some great folks on that team who are doing amazing work to really start to push out and drive some of that thought leadership in the space. So,
your SEO is on point. I'll give a shout out to your SEO team because I see a lot of websites, and the first thing I look at is like, are there keywords in the page title?
Right.
Because most page titles will just say like platform,
Yeah.
And then B, like, do those keywords appear on the page? And
Right.
you have almost a 1-for-1 match going on. Like page title almost matches the headline like exactly.
Yeah. The website is somewhere. So we definitely we do our work there, because those are some great ways you can drive ROI. Those are things that are in your control. You got to get those things right.
Nice.
But we're in the process of rebuilding our website right now, and are pretty excited about an upcoming launch there. So you come into a new org, you see the things that are going well, we double down on those things, and then we're adding on all these additional layers. So I'm really excited for where SevenRooms is going and where the space is going. And I 100% believe in this product, which is it's always great to be able to rep something that you just 100% are bought into.
That's awesome. So as you redo the website, your SEO team will tell you, try your best to not change the URLs and to not change the page titles if you can, or the content even that much.
Yeah.
But
We just need more flexibility to just to continue to get our messages out in different ways. And so it's always a good journey. It's always a scary journey too, though.
Nice. Well, tell everybody as much as you can. What's the bad news? What are your challenges? What keeps you up at night?
Well, so if I think, we'll stay work focused and maybe lie on the couch after this, but especially in the States, in the restaurant space, there's a heavy dependency on legacy marketplaces. You can think of like your open tables, and that can be challenging for restaurants, because those marketplaces are trying to build relationships with diners, which can be in conflict with what the restaurants are trying to do, which is build those relationships. Yeah. And there's a lot of control in the space. You saw this, it happened to travel, maybe 10 years ago. And all the different hotels and everybody had to figure out how they played in this game. And if restaurants are leaving their business on autopilot there, it can be really dangerous, because with SEO. So if somebody's directly navigating to their restaurant, I know where I want to eat tonight, I'm coming to get a reservation. Yeah. And a third-party marketplace is taking a cut of that. The margins are too thin for that to happen. And so what keeps me up at night is just the restaurant, like, how do we make sure we help the restaurant industry understand what's in their best interest? Now, I'm not saying there's not a place for open tables and resis, and there is, and it can really help, but you got to manage it. Like when it's, if you have a slow night, Tuesdays, Wednesdays are slow or whatever. Yeah. Like use it there. If you're full on other nights, don't use it there. Like make sure you're really managing these things. And that's part of the message we try to get out to restaurants is how do they help themselves make sure that they're using these channels correctly. And if you just leave it on autopilot, it can really eat into their profit margin.
Wow, that's really interesting. I've never considered that. I mean, we've worked with hotels and other hospitality, and we've worked also with company. It's almost like an affiliate marketing. Like if you have an affiliate marketing program,
yep,
there's almost like a co-opetition,
right?
Because like you want that click so that it goes to your website so that you get all the revenue, but you also want your affiliates to get there because if they weren't there, then your competitors might get the deal.
Right.
So
yeah, you want them in all the places you're not, so that you can maximize where you're spending and use that effectively. And yeah,
that's challenging.
It's just being really smart and understanding and asking questions, and because you can use them to your advantage. But we at SevenRooms, we're like operator focused. There's no question about who we work for. We work for the restaurants. And so we're constantly just finding ways, and there's just this idea of like omni-channel, right? Like a restaurant should be able to take in reservations and get business from anywhere. And that gives them the best, fighting chance to control their brand and win in the end. And so that we really try to help focus them and coach them on how do they show up everywhere they possibly can. Social is a huge driver. Referrals and word of mouth is a huge driver. How do they stay on top of that? And Google, I mean, restaurants near me is like, like that is people traveling. I mean, I'm sure even you, right? Like at some point you're like, type in restaurants near me, Italian
every day, every single day.
That's right.
Yeah. So just have all of your restaurants put that in their homepage title tag.
There you go.
Like Italian restaurants near me -city.
Google's pretty good though. Google has this Google Reserve, which is something every restaurant should be doing is making sure that they're set up there to capture those reservations especially when people know what they want a lot of times too. And want to make sure you're controlling that experience.
Yeah. So I wonder if there's an opportunity for you guys to partner with OpenTable, or maybe you already do.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're more in a competitive space. We have, they have overlapping functionality that we have. They have the marketplace, so we definitely have worked together. But and I see a future where a true omni-channel future will all work together in service to the restaurant. But the more educated the restaurants are at where their business comes from, the further we move into that future.
That makes sense, man. Yeah. So what's next? I know you're relatively new there still after a year, but what are you guys looking at for Q4 next year? What are you investing in? What are some of your big initiatives?
Yeah, I mean, I think the customer event is really a big place where we're investing. In this near term at Mindbody, we had this bold event which grew to be this huge. Michelle Obama spoke at it. Right? It became like kind of like a smaller version of Inbound with HubSpot. And so we're going to do our first year of that. And so that's a big push for us to line up and get right. And then, as we head into next year, it's continuing to push into these international markets. Like, how do we do more? When we look across, and I like to take a portfolio approach to marketing, because we have that advantage. You still have sales reps who have quotas who you need to feed in every market. But when we're seeing significant efficiency in certain markets, how do we make sure we're diverting the right direct response dollars to the places where we have that advantage, from all the way down to a cost per click through all the conversion rates, without starving the other markets? So I'm trying to find the right balance of how do we make sure we're deploying all our dollars effectively to drive maximum global growth, take advantage of efficiencies, and feed important future markets for our growth.
Interesting. So are you, when you talk international, are you mostly looking at like Western Europe for the most part?
Australia is really big, Singapore, Hong Kong, Middle East, all these places. Anywhere really English speaking, kind of, or at least where English is, widely spoken, is a good spot for us.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like you're taking a nice big swing with this event, which is awesome. Any other big swings that you have up your sleeve that you can talk about? Like
I mean, I think,
I have to believe you're thinking mass media somewhere in the back of your mind.
well, yeah, I mean,
Radio.
mass media at the right time and place. So, I don't think that's necessarily where we need to go, but there are components of more trackable, like connected TVs in my head, and how we start to think about um, a product placement in some ways, right? There's a lot going on with influencers. There's so many shows out there that are focused in on the restaurant space. And so how do we think about fresh approaches to how we reach our audience and help really make sure it's not just for awareness, but it's that we're really honing in on how we add value to the market. So the big things in the short term, in the next couple of months, we have some major product enhancements coming out. And so we need to do a great job both bringing that to our customers, our existing customers, which is, I think sometimes I've been guilty of this in my past, is thinking about how we're going to use these new products to drive new people into the funnel, and not doing all the hard work of making sure that our existing customer base is going to be able to really understand and get the most out of these. And so trying to find that balance between making sure we're appropriately helping our customers continue to get the most out of the product as we add new things.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a global SaaS shift that we've seen in 2023 also, just like,
Yeah.
because it used to be all new logo, new logo, new logo. And now it's like retention, expansion, like achieve all the dollars.
We were right down the fairway there as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And our customers grow a lot too, which is great, right? They're adding new concepts, new locations. And so, there is a lot of kind of new business sometimes that even sits within the base. And that's a great place for us to, they have somebody who loves us, who then goes and ends up, operating within that new concept. And it's a home run for us.
Yeah, and there's the old saying, like, it's 6 times easier to get
For
more
sure.
money from somebody or a client that's already paying you than it is to get a net new.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's been our business model the whole time, through the booms and the busts. That's how we've been rolling.
I love it.
Cool, man. Well, this has been awesome. For everybody that's listening, if you learned something here today, if you laughed, if you enjoyed it, drop us a like, a comment, or a rating wherever you get your pods. That's really helpful for us. JT, you are an amazing marketer. You're an amazing leader. You're very impressive. I'm really impressed by what you've done so far. And 7Rooms seems like an awesome product. And I can tell, I mean, I'm just by looking at the website, I can tell that you and your team really know what you're doing. So props to
Appreciate
you.
that. It's a great team. It's a great team.
Yeah. For everybody listening that wants to learn more about you or 7Rooms, where would you direct them?
I mean, hit me up on LinkedIn, Josh Todd on LinkedIn. Love to connect with folks and continue conversations, help anywhere I can, and learn some things along the way. So yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Well, stay on the line 1 second, JT. We will close up. But for everybody, thank you very much. That was another exciting episode of Revenue Driven CMO, and we'll see you next time. And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us here today. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at revenuedrivencmo.com. That's revenuedrivencmo.com. And hey, exclusive for listeners of this podcast, Web Mechanics will do 10 to 20 hours of work for you for free. Literally no sales calls, no BS. Just give them a problem and they will put a team to work for you for free for 10 to 20 hours. Even if you're already a client. If you're struggling with demand gen, lead gen, SEO, SEM, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, conversion optimization, if you can't get Facebook or Meta ads to work for the life of you, or you can't figure out attribution, Web Mechanics will take a good hard look at whatever problem you give them, whatever programs you put in front of them, and they will give you an objective, informed opinion, plus some advice from 10 to 20 hours of senior level attention. And that's just because you're a listener of this podcast. So I would suggest take them up on this offer. It's ridiculous. Go to revenuedrivencmo.com/free, fill out the 2-minute form, and you will not regret it. Literally zero downside, unlimited potential for growth. So do yourself a favor, revenuedrivencmo.com/free, no hyphens, no punctuations. You will be happy about that decision.